members of the Fourth Estate. It's a good thing having you here today. A departure from our normal press briefings that take place on Monday. I want to first of all regret that we were unable to address the media yesterday due to circumstances beyond our control. I also would like to take this opportunity to introduce the two gentlemen. Where is Bendy? First of all, to introduce to you our former candidate for Kazo Angola councillorship, Mr. Sharif Sebunya, whom, as you see, is one of the casualties of the messy Kawempe North constituency by-election. I also want to introduce to you Mr. Mopendi, former flag bearer from Tororo, who is here today, an official of the party coming from Tororo. Today's press briefing is going to focus on two major issues, and I pray that we don't digress from those two major issues. The media is fond of doing that. The first matter is that is trending, the Kawempe North by-election, and our impressions about what happened during that election. The second matter is our country-wide campaign, national campaign, sloganed as "No Cow, No Vote." As you are aware, the FDC participated in the just concluded by-election in Kawempe North constituency by fielding and campaigning for Mr. Sadat Mukibi Khalifa Naganaka and Mr. Sebunya Sharif as our flag bearers for Member of Parliament and Parish Councillor for Angola, Kazo Central, respectively. We wish to express our sincere gratitude to them for courageously, decently, and peacefully carrying our flag throughout the campaign periods. We also would like to congratulate and thank our team led by the Honorable Wilberforce Chambadi, who went on the ground to support this effort. And you can trust that by this alone, our support in Kawempe North and the entire division, which is a district to us, is not going to be the same. Our own evaluation of the events before, during, and after the polling date is that the entire by-election, as was in previous elections, because this is not an exception. Somebody might believe that maybe what has happened in Kawempe North recently is something that has happened as a first-time event. But being players as a political party that have been in this field for 20 years now, we can cite the Soroti City East constituency by-election, Kayunga District Woman Seat by-election, Arua Municipality by-election, and Bukedia District by-election, and from a distant past, the Kanungu elections that involved Amama Mbabazi and Garuga Muksinguzi, that is Kinkizi East elections, among others, amounted to a military operation intended to subvert the will of the people. We wish to condemn in the strongest terms possible the violence against the NUP candidate, Mr. Louis Mbazi Elias Nalukola, and our supporters, and actually our candidates, on the nomination day. The heavy deployment of military equipment and forces, the beating of journalists, some of them severely, the attack on citizens in the entire process, the destruction of ballot boxes and materials, and outright rigging by agents of the regime in power. The harassment and violence on the day of the nomination of our candidate, including the attack on Councillor Ngobi Idris, Kiria Ngobi, Kavuma Moses, Vanunji Richard, and Kintu John, who were abducted and detained in Kawempe Police Station, where they spent a night. While in detention, they faced maltreatment before being released on police bond the following day. Additionally, Kabonge Frederick, an FDC member, was injured in a border accident caused by JAT violence, and is currently receiving medical attention at Joel Medical Center. Journalist Ibrahim Miracle from Top TV, your colleague, was severely injured in the eye after being brutalized by JAT operatives. He was operated upon in the Zambia hospital, as all of you may now know. We in the FDC strongly condemn the brutal action of the joint security forces comprising Uganda Police Force, Military Police, ISO, SFC, and JAT operatives during the nomination and voting process for the Kawempe North parliamentary by-election and for the councillorship of Kazo Angola Central Parish. These repeated actions undermine the very democracy that the NRM went to the bush to fight for. The FDC went into this particular election not prepared to go to war with the establishment, but expecting a departure from the past spate of violence and vote rigging experienced in the previous by-elections. This kind of violence coming at the start of the next election cycle presents a grim picture to our democracy and a great worry for a free, fair, and credible 2026 general elections. We call upon the authorities to institute measures that will be needed to avoid a repeat of the mess that played out during the Kawempe North by-election. As we congratulate the declared winner of the by-election, we wish to cast doubt on the results allocated to our candidates, the parliamentary candidate, which places him a distant fifth in the contest. Is it fourth or fifth? Fifth. Having previously participated in elections in Kawempe North to field a candidate in the general election of 2021. We affirm that this result can never be a reflection of our strength in this particular constituency, and believe that this could have been caused by the confusion created by the military in some polling stations, including those whose votes never got to be counted. We shall never get to know our accurate tally in this election. The Electoral Commission must be brought to account for the terrible by-election that they should have managed better. We thank the people of Kawempe North for standing up against intimidation and turning up to vote. Mr. Sebunya Sharif, our candidate for Councillor Kazo Angola Central, will never get to know how many votes he got, because his area is one of those whose ballot boxes and papers were destroyed. We shall be embarking on a court process to demand costs incurred during this election exercise for our candidates. In a surprise move, Mr. Museveni announced his party's intention to contest the Kawempe North by-election results in court during the NRM-SEC meeting at State House last week. This is unprecedented in the history of NRM. Whereas the NRM has a right to contest, and in fact, it's not in just this by-election that they have lost. They lost in Oyang County North, they lost in Dokoro District, but never went to court. Whereas the NRM has a right to contest the outcome of the by-election, just like any other political party has previously done, we in the FDC view Mr. Museveni's challenge as an attempt to undermine the democratic process and disregard the will of the people. We believe the people of Kawempe have made their choice clear, despite the intimidating presence of security forces, bribery, and rigging machinery. Mr. Museveni must have the decency to respect the decision of the people. The FDC is further concerned over the treatment of or mistreatment of journalists covering the Kawempe North by-election. Reports that have been documented indicate that journalists were subject to physical assault, arrest, confiscation and destruction of their equipment, and many are still receiving medical attention in hospitals. This underlines the fact that even you in the media fraternity can never be spared. And therefore this fight is not a fight for just us, political leaders and common Ugandans. The journalists need to be engaged in this fight. We in the FDC wish to express our solidarity and empathy with journalists who were brutalized and battered while covering the Kawempe North by-election. We stand with journalists who were brutalized and since then have been receiving attention from various medical facilities, that's medical attention. And would like to mention Francis Isano, Raymond Tamale, Dennis Kabugo, Abubakar Luboa, David Ijo, Hasfa Namvuma, Yasin Kiboyo, Owora Gabriel, Robert Mutebi, Ibra Miracle, Stephen Mido, Mbide, my friend, Stephen Kibwika, among others. And maybe some of you also who got involved in this fracas. We really sympathize with you. The extreme violence against journalists forced all media houses to withdraw from the field which gave room to the regime to assault and abduct opposition leaders, raiding polling stations, ballot stuffing, and committing all kinds of criminality. In the Malay, Uganda Communications Commission switched off PAL FM radio, ostensibly for broadcasting live coverage, relaying all kinds of mischief. In lieu of the above development, I understand police cancelled yesterday's weekly meeting, briefing at Naguru Police Headquarters due to media blackout by journalists who were protesting the mistreatment of their colleagues. And I want to hail the media fraternity for acting prudently. Because how then would this rogue regime understand that they are mistreating and doing harm to the very people who make a contribution to the democracy and good governance of this country? So keep boycotting them and keep coming to listen to us. Because that is the way to go. We are together in this. And I hope that it will take many, many more months before you cover the UPDF and the intelligence services and the rogue police force that has continued to cause pain on the people of Uganda. Finally, we in the FDC stand in support of press freedom and the safety of journalists, emphasizing that their role is crucial in a democratic society. We call for accountability and justice for those affected by the violence, ensuring that journalists can work without fear of intimidation. Actually, they should be writing their paychecks to these journalists to compensate them for the brutality that the journalists face. This kind of violence against journalists is unacceptable and undermines the fundamental principles of press freedom and democracy. Journalists, as the fourth estate, play a crucial role in holding those in power accountable and providing citizens with accurate information, and they must be able to perform their duties without fear of intimidation or violence. For us as the FDC and going forward, the party will continue to rebuild itself in the constituency and will field candidates in the next general elections. Both Mr. Sadat Mukibi and Mr. Sharif Sebunya will be supported to play a pivotal role in strengthening the party in Kawempe division. Mr. Mukibi particularly will additionally be deployed in a role to positively engage young people nationally in consonance with the Youth League. I will now switch to the No Cow, No Vote campaign. No Cow, No Vote campaign is an FDC-led call to the NRM government to account for unfulfilled promises made to the people of Uganda for them to deserve being considered for another term in office. It is a demand notice to the Museveni administration to fulfill pledges made over all electoral cycles before the next election or lose out on the people's vote or mandate. Every sub-region of the country has its own campaign issues, and FDC intends to visit all the sub-regions to highlight the failures of the current establishment directly affecting people in the sub-region in question. Whereas we went to Teso to launch this, we know that there is unfinished business in the Luwero Triangle. 39 years plus since those evil things happen to the people of Luweo. We know that there is unfinished business in the Ruwenzori region, and this campaign intends to highlight those issues with the people and to the governing people in power today. The intended launch of the campaign for the Greater North, that is Lango, Acholi, West Nile and Teso, was to take place on the 7th of March 2025 in Soroti City, spearheaded and organized by the FDC members of parliament from Teso. Unfortunately, the event was disrupted by police with their arrest, incarceration, and arraignment in court over trumped-up charges. The party president, myself, the Honorable Achop Joan Adobo, the City Woman Member of Parliament, the Honorable Jonathan Walu, the MP for Soroti West, Mr. Sama Chaitum, the FDC chairman for Soroti City Northern Division, and 2 other members of the FDC, who were arrested on the 7th and charged with various obnoxious offenses, brought to court at 5 in the evening to avoid the crowd that had gathered to protest our being held in police cells, where we suffered torture and dehumanizing conditions. While in the police cells, our families were denied access to us. We slept on the floor because no mattresses were allowed into what is called the VIP area of the police cells in the Eastern Division, in the East Kyoga Division headquarters. Our lawyers had to spend hours outside the gate before they could be let in to speak to us. We were denied food because they wanted us to eat police food that we suspect, always suspect, is poisoned in order to eliminate political opponents of the regime, and all sorts of evils that we endured. The trial magistrate, and I'm not going to talk details because this could amount to sub judice, had to listen to this case up to about 8:30 in the evening, and that is when we were delivered at Soroti Main Prison under tight escort and checked in and given very cold posho and beans to eat. Now, it's also reasonable to take this opportunity to highlight the plight of the ordinary prisoner who are held in the prison facility. We were held in a sick bay, and that again was meant to be the VIP area of the prison. But a prison that is designed to hold 400 inmates, including convicts, is now forced to hold 1,533 plus convicts and those on remand. And we can imagine what happens in the wards. Over congestion, and this is a recipe for common diseases to be spread. The Greater North campaign is not limited to just compensation of cows. It is an effort for recognition of the deprived and underprivileged people of those sub-regions. It entails majorly the following. Number one, full compensation for livestock and human lives lost during the first nearly 1 decade of the NRM in power. Number 2, full compensation for lives lost during the LRA incursion in the Greater North region and rewarding of the auxiliary forces, the Aro and the Amuka, respectively from Teso and Lango. Number 3, fulfillment of agreements reached with fighting groups in the West Nile sub-region, e.g. the West Nile Bank Front and the others. Number 4, early discussion on compensation for land to be lost and damage to the environment and sharing of oil revenue from the discovery of oil in the Greater North region. We do not want the discovery of oil to turn into an oil curse. We do not want the people of this region, the Greater North region, to be cheated, just like the people of Bunyoro have been cheated for the oil that was discovered and is now being exploited in the Bunyoro sub-region, in the various wells across the region. Number 5, we are going to mobilize the people to resist the revival of the debate by government and the possible passing of the law on compulsory acquisition of customary land by government. And number 6, we will highlight the need for the NRM to value human lives by respecting human rights and the dignity of the Ugandan citizens as enshrined in the national constitution. Despite the disruptions by the police of the launch and what is meant to intimidate us as political leaders, the arrests and the suffering that we had to endure both in the police cells and in court, and where we are supposed to go back, report on the 31st, and in prison where we were held, we are undeterred and we will continue with our struggle to fight for the liberties of the people of Uganda. We are therefore going to resume our activities very soon, and a comprehensive program for our countrywide campaign will be issued to the public after internal consultation on the matter. I would like to state and to assure Mr. Museveni and his cronies that we are not going to be cowed. We will continue the fight regardless of the number of times that we will be checked in police cells, regardless of the court sessions that we are going to be involved in, and regardless of the number of times we will be jailed in the prisons of this country. This is a struggle of the Ugandan people. And therefore, all that Mr. Museveni and his people need to do is to create more room in the police cells, create more rooms in the jails of this country, because the FDC, whose DNA is activism, is going to lead the way in the fight using activism. This is something that we promised the nation of Uganda, and is something that we are prepared to lay our lives down for. I wish to take this opportunity to thank the people of Teso, particularly led by our MPs and the local leadership, who escaped the anguish of being arrested, for their solidarity and prayers and the outpouring of support that we received, the resilience that they exhibited. Our lawyers, led by our legal secretary, the Honorable Moses Okot Jr. Bitek, MP Kyoga County, supported by Honorable Adeke, the MP Soroti District, Mongole and Company advocates, counsels Gabriel Ogire and Edmond Elasu, who offered wonderful representation and put in very strong arguments for us, to support us. We need to note the stringent bail conditions by courts, which are being weaponized against all forms of activism. And maybe to put this on record, that between the 6 of us who were held on these charges, we had to pay 32 million shillings as one of the, in total, as one of the conditions for us to receive bail. A village person being asked to pay 4.5 million in court in order to receive temporary freedom is totally ridiculous and being used as a weapon to deter progressive forces from standing up against the dictatorship. Our view, and 4.5, and then the member of parliament 7 million, and the second one 7 million. To me, I think this is a deliberate ploy by the establishment to deter us from standing up to the establishment. And it reminds me of a case of Colonel retired Dr. Kiza Besiki, while in court being subjected to a bail condition of 30 million shillings. The total madness. And again, this kind of evil we are going to continue to contest in the courts of law. This mischief is being helped by NRM functionaries and military officers in the different parts of the country, where there are serious issues needing NRM to address before the next election. We warn that constriction of political space will undermine democracy in the country and lead to players engaging desperate means to bring the desired change to this country. In finishing, I wish to recognize that our Muslim brothers are in observing the holy month of Ramadan, and that our Christian brothers and sisters too are observing the Lenten season. I would like to wish our Muslim brothers and sisters a successful fasting season in these Ramadan periods, and wish them all enough Eid el-Fitri, happy celebrations. We also wish our Christian brothers and sisters who are strictly observing Lent. By that I mean those who have chosen to fast and pray during this period, and I don't know how many of you belong to that category. You are eating meat, unreservedly. And also to wish them happy Easter that is yet to come. Thank you very much for listening to me, and God bless you.
I don't know whether I have any questions. Huh? I will entertain 5 questions, then we can move. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Ivan Sadeni, and I'm a journalist writing for the division. Now, on that campaign of no cow, no vote, it sounds like a precondition you're setting for the NRM government. Should we expect that when maybe in the long run, if the government comes and maybe gives back or compensates people with their cows, will you rally support for them? Because it sounds like for this.
That's also for the groups.
Especially from the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs regarding the delayed compensation of people. The minister is saying that you are politicizing the matter. The matter wouldn't be politicized for the people of Lango, Teso, and actually to benefit. He says that the more you politicize the matter, the more these people are going to lose, because we believe that there are over 60,000 who are supposed to be compensated in this. So he says that politicizing the matter won't yield anything for the people of those areas. What's your take, basically, from the minister? Regarding the compensation and the money...
Is this Mao?
Yes, exactly.
Is the one who said this?
Yes, he's the minister. The third thing is, though it's true that the money has been always being released into the financial years that have been being released, the money, about 30 million, has been allocated for those people.
30 billion.
Yes. But we've heard also that this money hasn't been taken on accounts, and they don't know the exact people who are to benefit in this matter. What's your take, especially if you are the person from Teso, the party that is leading the campaigns, the fights about for them to benefit? Do you know the actual number of people? For all we say. I thank you.
Thank you. My name is Ramzan Muhire. I work with NBS TV. You are going to court. Who are you suing? Government, EC? Please clarify on that. You cast out the votes that your candidate got. How many did you expect him to get? And are you challenging the results wholly, or you think Nankora actually matters? You think your candidate didn't get the votes that you want? Nankora actually won you. Let's take those ones.
What's your name?
What are the steps that you're going to take if your demands are not met? Thank you.
I am glad that the no cow no vote has generated a lot of interest from the media, and I thank you for your. Being a person from the Greater North, and I don't want to say, I'm just from Teso, because I belong to the Greater North. I am conversant with the history of what happened in respect to cattle theft and also the compensation. Of course, you have limited yourself to the compensation, but there are also other underlying issues that I have stated here. I hope these are captured. Ivan has asked that suppose the NRM fulfills this to the last cow. I want to respond by saying that this mischief was caused during the various insurgencies from 1986 when the NRM came to power to around about 1991. And so this is a matter that has a history to it. The people of Teso, Acholi and Lango for compensation. And I remember as member of parliament, I led the Teso parliamentary group to interface with Mr. Museveni directly. And I saw no commitment on the part of Museveni. It is also noteworthy that different groups have gone to court, and the people of the region have secured 3 judgments in favor of the complainants. Every time that the NRM has written its manifesto, which is a contract with the people of Uganda, and in this case, those communities that lost, they have made a commitment to compensate the people of the Greater North, the cows and lives that were lost. People have opened accounts. Imagine a peasant opening an account. You go sell a piece of land or mortgage it, sell a pig, sell a cow, go to Centenary Bank, open up an account. That account remains dormant for years and it's closed without a single coin going into that account. And how frustrating this is. Therefore, I personally do not see, in answering Olivia's question and also Ivan's question, I don't see NRM fulfilling its obligation within the 1 year that is left. Or even less. And therefore, this must be made a campaign issue in these regions. We cannot avoid that. Because the manifesto of NRM, which is a contract between NRM and the people of Uganda, would have been violated. And so, Isaac, the cows won't be paid in full. I want to tell you that the numbers were counted. There's just a single family of Muse Romano Opio from Ochero who lost 3,000 heads of cattle. 3,000 in a single day. After that happened, in a matter of hours, the old man's pressure rose and he collapsed and died. We were a rich nationality, you people. Now broken down and put to our knees. We managed the education of our children. We took care of our families, the medical needs, the nutritional needs. We had beef to sell, we had milk to sell. Sadly, when the NRM came to power, we no longer see any of that happening. The engagements in parliament seem to be falling through. And I think because of the lies that we have been fed on, it is totally difficult to believe that there is a commitment by the NRM to compensate the people of the Greater North. Whether the commitment is made by Museveni himself or Saleh or Muozi, these are people who have been in government in the last 40 years. Why didn't they compensate the affected communities 20 years ago when this happened? Mao is a new minister who is DP in NRM clothes, and his statements are just merely mischievous. I have known Mao for the last 35 years. We're contemporaries in Makerere. And I know that he's better than this. I think he's speaking for government and not for the people of the Greater North. What else does Mao expect the people of Acholi to do other than putting pressure on the regime that has refused to pay them what is due to them? What does he want the Acholi people to do? Pick up arms and fight the regime? The only weapon that they have now is their vote. And they would be right not to vote NRM that has failed them. And whether Mao doesn't likes this or he doesn't like this, there is politics involved in this. And we will politicize it with all our energy and make it known to the people of the Greater North that they are not loved by this government and that this government would be happy to continue seeing them suffering perpetually. As far as the numbers are concerned, Teso alone lost about 1 million votes. 1 million cows. Even the little compensation that is trickling in is targeting just one cow. And I have told you about Mzee Romano Opio, who lost 3,000 cows. Just one family. And I think that using threats is not going to help. Telling the people they are going to lose if they continue agitating is a misnomer. First, even without agitating, they are getting nothing. Why wouldn't they try to agitate for full compensation? They have tried to keep silent. They have been fed on false promises. Now is the time for them to act. And so no cow, no vote is unstoppable. No cow, no vote is unbogable. It is going to reach the grassroots of the communities that lost. And this is going to be a game changer in the politics of Uganda. If Mr. Museveni had never felt the people, he is going to feel the people in the coming election. And this is not a threat. This is a reality, and we are going to execute that reality. Whether we are locked up, we will talk to the prisoners. And in fact, I've converted a lot of prisoners during my stay in prison. And you will go to Soroti main prison and all of them will say one Uganda, one people. That is the slogan there. He gives us also opportunity to recruit from amongst the prisoners, remembering that many of them will be in time for the next election. We are going to sue the Electoral Commission. Because they fail to take responsibility. By the way, they fail to take responsibility because after seeing all this mess happening in Kawempe, it was within their power to stop that election. It was. The information that we have is that in 15 areas, and mark me, in 15 voting areas, not polling stations, boxes were destroyed. And you can imagine the number of votes that were not counted. They didn't stop the election. They went ahead to conduct it. Even with all those flaws, and an announcement was made. Of course, we are happy that it wasn't NRM announced. So we'll take the Electoral Commission to court for being irresponsible. You all know that in a campaign, candidates incur expenses, time is lost, money is lost, and we just cannot wait to issue our bill of costs to the Electoral Commission once that ruling is made. For the case of Shafiq Sebunya, I want to observe that in 2021 general elections, even with the wave of NUP, don't mind their failures along the way from that time, our candidate, the one we fielded, got in excess of 2,000 votes. And that was a rough reflection of the strength of the party, even against one of the strongest political waves that we had to endure. And now we are told we only have 200 and how many votes? It can't be. It can't. We presented a very good candidate. We did. He was probably the best candidate in all of the candidates that we had. He bonded with all characters in the ghetto and everywhere else. And you want to convince FDC, a party of 20 years, that we, an area of the opposition where we have structures, that we got 259 votes, 39, totally impossible, totally ridiculous. Of course, we won't be able to know the accurate tally, as I have mentioned in my statement, but the public should take it from us that Aganaga was worth more than those votes. He was. And as I've said, we are not going to lower our guard. Beginning next week, work will continue in Kawempe Division and the whole of Kampala. We are not challenging the outcome of the election. There's nowhere to start from in challenging this outcome. You all saw what happened with the military. You saw how boxes were broken. Or didn't you see because you were chased? I think it might also be a good thing that you tested that Chiboko so that you act pretend as a joke. Don't record that.
Maybe I can add something.
So John Kikonyogo will be speaking to you in Luganda. Are you speaking Luganda? It's a very long statement.
No, I wanted to add something on what you have talked about. Kawempe, all of you are aware that more than 85% of the voters did not dare to go out and vote. Only 15% voted. And those are, we can call them
disenfranchised voters.
yes. And secondly, those who are called, maybe they are devils. Those who could brave the arms and go to vote. Where people can go and vote in those circumstances, where after all of you have been withdrawn. So you can note that all the people who had listened to the messages didn't come to vote. Only those who are there devils came out to vote. So Kawempe was not an election.
No. We are not going to be involved in that nonsense. We are not. We have already qualified this election as nonsense. No, we are not. Look, we have 197 polling stations. Yes. And how many voters? 109,000. And yet, you know, when you look at the votes that were cast, they can't even reach 50,000.
Yes,
they don't reach 30,000. So don't take us there. You know, we are not a joking political organization. No. We can't be involved in that. So if Museveni wants to go to court, of course he has the liberty to do that as a political organization. But don't count us in that mess. We are not comedians. We are serious people. Any more questions? Well, that is, you go to chat on the 10 to ask that question. That is Museveni's question. But my suspicion is that, you know, for us presidents, we don't go to court. This is something that will be handled by a legal team and the Secretary General, who would then, you know, do the prosecution with the lawyers. You heard Todwong talking about it. But like I said, like any other political organization, it is within their right to go to court. This will not be the first petition, although, as I've also stated, it is unprecedented in the politics of NRM. The first time that NRM is going to go to court and over, you know, an electoral petition. And I think this is extremely scandalous. It is. Because you control everything. The electoral commission is yours. The army is yours. ISO is yours. JAT is yours. Police is yours. Even the Kanyamas, you can buy them. And you still want to persuade anybody that you were cheated in an election?
And we felt silly enough.
Well, I think we wish them luck. That is you know, the point at which I am going to end. But this is deliberate, and my prediction is that they will want Nalukola not to swear in, and I think that is going to be round 2 of the fight. My friends in Nup need to be prepared for anything, and at the earliest opportunity, I will be telling Chagulanyi this exactly. You know, there is a lot of mischief that is brewing, and I believe that Nup should stop celebrating. They should prepare for the fight ahead of them. Kale, thank you.
It's better to do it.
Bambu nyo.
Yes. Thank you.
It's too long. So
thank you very much.